the Affordable Care Act, and they round up their fellow billionaires, and this one of these create this super PAC called American for Prosperity. Outside the regular campaigns, on top of what Republicans are able to raise, they're pumping this money in there. Every single ad against Democratic candidates. Harry Reid also goes on to say that here's the problem with Americans, and here's particularly the problem with Senate Republicans.
Senate Republicans, Madam President, are addicted to Koch. In fact, Senate Republicans hardly need the NRSC anymore, which for decade after decade was a main funding tool for the Republican Senate. Not any longer. The Koch brothers take care of that.
Yep, they don't need their Senate campaign committee anymore. They got the Koch brothers. What do they need when the Koch brothers are pumping $400 million in there? The Koch brothers have taken over the fundraising needs of the Republican Party for Senate, for the House, and in 2012 for Mitt Romney as well for the Republicans. So here's the question I got to you. First of all, remember, the Obama hate machine, there they are, Charles and David Koch. They came after me when I read this book, and now they're going after, when I wrote this book, and now they're going after Harry Reid, saying it's inappropriate for him to be attacking two Americans who are just involved, and all they're doing is exercising their constitutional right to be involved in American politics. So is Harry Reid right to take on the Koch brothers? 866-55-PRESS. I'll say damn right. He's absolutely on target. American people have a right to know who is trying to buy America. Buy America for the worst possible reasons. Buy America to let the oil and gas industry pollute all they want and get away with it, and of course give all the tax breaks to the oil and gas companies that they could possibly enjoy. That's their agenda. Harry Reid is pointing it out. Is he right to do so? 866-55-PRESS. Let's talk about it here Thursday morning, The Bill Press Show.
This is The Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where that ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek,
Newtown.
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more?
How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough.
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 Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday. It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So it is Harry Reid versus the Koch brothers. And I love it that the Democratic Party is finally waking up to say they've got to go after these guys. Otherwise, you know, there was just like it was a Super Bowl game and only one team showed up on the field, and we're letting that team get away with it and not even challenging them. Harry Reid says it's important to identify who's behind all of this right-wing money and these ads, because people have a right to know who are the out-of-state billionaires. That's a phrase he uses for them, the out-of-state billionaires who are funding the ads. And, of course, you heard him call the Koch brothers immoral, dishonest, un-American. Going too far? Milton, out in Frankfort, Illinois. What do you say, Milton? Good morning.
Good for Harry Reid.
Yeah, amen, right?
Everybody, radio stations should be pointing these Koch brothers out. All these hate bills coming out, they organizations are writing them and making these congressmen and senators push them through.
Yeah.
All these Republicans, they getting their marching orders from the Koch brothers.
Yeah. You know what they do, Milton? And just two quick things. I forget. There's one organization they've got that brings judges in from around the country, right? And they train these, put these judges, run them through the hoops, right, about all the right-wing propaganda. Then these judges go back and they make their decisions in favor of the oil companies and the gas companies. And then they also have this thing called ALEC, American Legislative Exchange Council, where they write these model bills, like the bills for shutting down voting rights in state after state after state last year, all written by ALEC. The stand your ground laws, right? In all those different states. That was written by the Koch brothers. Absolutely.
Why do we vote when these congressmen and senators are supposed to be the ones who write the bills, but they don't write any bills?
No.
They get them sent to them by the Koch brothers and delivered.
You got it. It's just about everything you can think of that's possibly wrong in this country. The Koch brothers, the Obama hate machine, are behind it. In Chicago, hello, Wayne. Good morning.
Good morning, Bill. Yes, the thing about it is if the Keystone XL pipeline goes through, the Koch brothers are estimated to get between 80 and 100 billion more dollars to do whatever they can to make life harder for ordinary Americans.
You got it. Yep, that's their big baby, the Keystone Pipeline. Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to benefit them directly, Wayne. Right?
Yes. Right.
Yeah, you know, they own the pipelines, they own the refineries. They got to, right. Yeah. So basically, all we would be doing is building a delivery project for the Koch brothers. That's what the Keystone Pipeline is all about. I was glad to see Ed Schultz come out last night against it as well. 866-55-PRESS. Harry Reid has said the gloves are off. He's an old boxer, too, by the way, former boxer. So, man, watch out for him. All right, Reid said, the gloves are off. Damn it. We're going to take on the Koch brothers and expose them and let everybody know. Is he doing the right thing? 866-55-PRESS.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing down, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
That's it. Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
we go, 34 minutes after the hour. We're talking about Majority Leader Harry Reid has decided he's not going to take it anymore. He is mad as hell, and he's going to make sure the American people know who is behind all these misleading ads. By the way, a lot of these ads that Americans for Prosperity have put out there have been proven to be total lies. There are commercials out there that show people saying, oh, I tried to sign up for Obamacare, or I signed up for Obamacare, and it cost me, it doubled my insurance price. They wouldn't cover this, they wouldn't cover that. All these horror stories about people who signed up for Obamacare. Reporters have looked into several of them and found out these people are actors, and what they're saying is just pure lies, pure nonsense. Of course, there's no truth in advertising in political campaigns. There should be, but Harry Reid has decided, well, I'm going to expose the people who are behind these ads, the Koch brothers. I called them in my latest book the Obama hate machine, the lies, distortions, and personal attacks on the president and who is behind them. I helped unmask the Koch brothers, and now Harry Reid is doing it. And again, I love, he's just summed up what they are all about right here. Harry Reid.
You see, when you make billions of dollars a year, you can be, I guess, as immoral and dishonest as your money will allow you to be. It's too bad that they're trying to buy America, and it's time that the American people spoke out against this terrible dishonesty of two brothers who are about as un-American as anyone that I can imagine.
Yeah, un-American, immoral, dishonest. You got it. Peter?
Remember, we're on Twitter at BP Show, at BP Show. You can join in the conversation there. Let us know what you're thinking. One of our favorite tweeters early in the
Welcome
morning.
back, by the way, to the...
Oh, hi, Bill.
To the program.
Hi there. I'm here. One of our favorite tweeters, NC Nomad, says, Americans are acting so outraged by the corruption in the Ukraine, but the crap that their own government is doing and done through our Congress and state govs rivals them. You can join that conversation again at BP Show on Twitter. Just follow us there.
I like that. Yeah, good point. Yeah, let's take a look at some of our own corruption right here. Right here is Tom. Tom is calling from up in Surrey, Maine. Hello, Tom.
Hi, Bill.
Yeah, what's going on? What do you think? Harry Reid doing the right thing?
I think so, because Harry Reid, without him, the right wing would have already taken over.
You're right. Right about that.
I mean, it's crazy. Big money has definitely taken over. I think we need some kind of reform here, don't you?
Well, I do. Short of the problem is with this Supreme Court, Tom, they will let people spend and companies spend. Corporations, of course, are people. We know that, right? They'll let them spend an unlimited amount of money. So short of that, it's hard to get reform with this Supreme Court, I guess, is the point I'm making. And short of that, the only thing to do is to expose these people and let all Americans know who's behind these lies and these misleading ads. Hey, Tom, let me ask you this. So is Mike Michaud going to be the next governor of Maine?
I hope so. The governor we got now, if he cuts any more, we're not going to even have a snowplow up here.
God, yeah.
I mean, it's terrible. He's the cut and slasher. I think he's the Tea Party boy too.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. But from what I hear, even the Republicans are not too satisfied with Paul LePage up there, the governor. So Mike Michaud, good friend of the program, guest in studio, next governor of Maine. Appreciate the call, Tom. I was just looking here in the book. I just wanted to go through some of the organizations. I mentioned 57 different organizations. Some of them you've heard about. Some of them that you haven't. They've been called because the Koch brothers are they're like omnipresent. Whenever there's, again, I said that to one of the other earlier callers. Is there anything really bad going on? Koch brothers are funding it. I mean, you can do, that's just about like a rule. But here are just a few, right, of the organizations, some of which you've heard about, some of you haven't, that they are funding. Koch brothers. The Cato Institute, Citizens for a Sound Economy, the Mercatus Center at George Mason University, just outside of D.C., the Institute for Humane Studies at George Mason University. That's another thing they do. They go to college campuses, and say, hey, we'll give you, $1 billion. Or maybe it doesn't have to be that much. We'll give you $5 or $10 million, and you can form a little study center here. Yeah. And like the study center at George Mason University, what is it all about? It's writing anti-environmental legislation that they're giving to legislators here, to members of Congress. Legislation to shut down EPA, legislation so there'll be no controls on air pollution or water pollution, whatever. Heritage Foundation, Institute for Justice, the Reason Foundation, the Washington Legal Foundation, the Ethics, boy, there's a reach, the Ethics and Public Policy Center, and of course, it includes the American Legislative Exchange Council and Americans for Prosperity. That's their political arm, and they're the ones that are running these ads against incumbent Democrats running for re-election that Harry Reid has exposed. Jeffrey, calling from Miami. Hello, Jeffrey. Good morning.
Hi, my name's Jesse, but hey,
Jesse, I'm sorry. Hi.
That's okay. Thanks for all you do. The main point is you got some good people, rich people stepping forward now, seeing what happened with the government shutdown. So with somebody saying they're willing to spend $200 million to support the truth behind climate change, so why not use that money or that will to counter the Kochs, the Rupert Murdochs, and use people like George Soros, if I got his name right.
George Soros, right?
Use they positive to go against the negative. To be a foundation for maybe a new Air America or to counter the Rupert Murdochs. Because the main thing is the message, and just what you said is if they're trying to get the message ahead on the 14 elections, we need to counter it real quick because people in Mississippi and the South are being used again just like they was for the Civil War.
You know what, Jesse? You are so spot on, and you are singing my song. I'm just looking over here. I can't reach it because my arm's not long enough. But the book before this one was Toxic Talk, right? I wrote a whole book on that very, very point. That first of all, I do think Harry. There, thank you, Peter. Yes, he's got longer arms than I do. So, Toxic Talk: How the Radical Right Has Poisoned America's Airwaves. The point I make there is true. What Harry Reid is doing is very, very important, okay? Exposing the money behind these political ads. But getting the message out is something that the Republicans latched onto early on, conservatives, early on, going back to the Nixon days. And they went out and they bought radio stations, and they created radio networks, and they created these think tanks, and they control the field today. And I've said to Democrats for a long time, and to liberals for a long time, look, don't complain about Rupert Murdoch. Let's find our own Rupert Murdoch. And unfortunately, George Soros has never stepped up to the plate when it comes to progressive radio and supporting progressive radio. But I think until, and I make that point again in Toxic Talk, until progressives and liberals put their money where their mouth is, and look, there are a lot of them out there. There are a lot of very, very wealthy, liberal, progressive Democrats who've got the funding, who could match what the Koch brothers do, if they, or at least give them a run for their money, right? At least provide some competition. If they would just get smart and go out there, buy the radio stations, create the networks, get the talent out there. The talent exists. Support the talent. Get the think tanks going to help craft the message and take them head on. And until they do that, I always think that we will be running to play catch up. Good point, Jesse. Harry Reid, all I got to say is, Harry Reid, you are absolutely right on. Go, 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 and keep the pressure on the Koch brothers and let people know the out-of-state billionaires who are behind these ads that they are seeing. When we come back, George Zornick from The Nation joins us to talk about some of the bigger stories of the day. We'll move right along with George Zornick coming up.
This is the Bill Press Show.
It is possible to read the history of this country as one long struggle to extend the liberties established in our Constitution to everyone in America. In other words, who, according to our laws and culture, gets to be considered a person? The law creates legal personhood, and movements create law and change culture. So, how have the courts passed laws to shape our culture? That history goes way back before Citizens United. 1819, Dartmouth College versus Woodward, Supreme Court case, turned a corporate charter from a government-granted charter to a contract. This ruling gave corporations standing within the Constitution. 1886, Santa Clara County versus Southern Pacific Railroad. Though the court did not rule on corporate personhood, the decision was subsequently cited as a precedent to hold that a private corporation is entitled to the same 14th Amendment rights of due process and equal protection as human beings. This makes it impossible for us to make laws that treat local businesses any differently than giant multinational corporations, even if their business practices are deemed to be harmful to workers, the environment and communities, or if they have a history of violating the law. Hale versus Henkel, 1906. The court granted corporations the Fourth Amendment search and seizure protection. Dodge versus Ford Motor Company, 1919. The Michigan Supreme Court says the business corporation is organized and carried on primarily for the profit of the stockholders. Stockholder primacy is established. The purpose of the corporation, according to the court, is no longer to serve the public good, as it had been. It is now to maximize profit for shareholders above all else. Pennsylvania Coal Company versus Mahon, 1922. Corporations get the Fifth Amendment takings clause, meaning if you pass a regulation that impacts a corporation's ability to make a profit, that is deemed a taking, and they can sue for the right to future profits lost. This creates a chilling effect, and local and state governments become much more hesitant to pass laws in the public interest for fear that corporations can claim loss of potential profits that cities and states will be on the hook to pay. Buckley versus Vallejo, 1976. The Supreme Court rules that spending money to influence elections is protected under the First Amendment, in effect saying that money is speech. Citizens United versus Federal Election Commission, 2010.
Today, the Supreme Court of Chief Justice John Roberts declared that because of the alchemy of its 19th century predecessors in deciding that corporations had all the rights of people, any restrictions on how these corporate beings spend their money on political advertising are unconstitutional.
The court's ruling threatens to undermine the integrity of elected institutions across the nation. It's a rejection of the common sense of the American people.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
We got it 13 minutes now before the top of the hour here on a Thursday morning, March 6th. The Bill Press Show coming to you live from our nation's capital and up on your local progressive talk radio station. Also up, of course, on Free Speech TV on the Dish Network and DirecTV. And on our video stream worldwide at youtube.com/TawkrTV. Talking about Harry Reid taking on the Koch brothers. A lot more happening here around the nation's capital. George Zornick covers Washington for The Nation magazine, thenation.com. Hey, George, thanks for joining us this morning. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me.
Let's start with, I noticed you've been writing about Elizabeth Warren. Is she going to run in 2016? And what's she doing about student loans?
On the first part, I'm not sure, but I will say that a lot of people seem to be taking her proclamation that she won't run at face value, and I'm not doing that. And I'm not doing that because I think that she really has no choice but to say that. She certainly can't declare now that she would run.
Right.
And even if she left the door open, it would, if she sort of gave a soft yes, like a lot of people do, if she kind of teases it, it would put everything she does in sort of, people would think she was kind of a ladder climber, and they would put everything that she does in a more ambitious light. So I think she's going to say no, and she's going to hope that people beg her to run. Now, I don't know if that's true. Maybe she really doesn't want to run, but I'm not taking it at face value as the point.
You're very, very smart. We've had too many people out. Yeah, she should say no right now, and we should also keep the pressure on her to run. So there you go. But on student loans, this has been a big issue for her.
It has, actually. It's something that she's repeatedly kind of nudged the administration on, and actually this morning at the Center for American Progress, in about a couple hours, she's going to help launch a campaign. It's a multi-year campaign. It's going to be inside and outside Washington. It's going to look at ways to not only reduce the cost of college just up front. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous that you end up, some people pay $30,000, $40,000 a year for an undergrad education. And then on the other side, to kind of mold federal policy to make it easier for students to pay back a debt that they do accrue, and for people who've already gone and racked up big bills to kind of manage that debt, because it's a crazy way to run an economy where you send young, smart people out into the job market with $100,000 worth of debt already right off the top before they get their first paycheck.
Yeah, basically they've got a mortgage payment before they even have a house, right? And it's their student loan. Right. Well, good. Yeah, good for Elizabeth Warren. Will we see any action from Congress? Do you think? I think they even leave today. But how long? How soon, rather, before Congress steps up to the plate on what the president has been calling for in this crisis in Crimea by providing some more assistance to Ukraine?
I think it certainly, like you say, won't happen this week. What I've heard is they're going to wait 30 days to see how it develops until. I think there's so much kind of disagreement in Congress. They don't know. Some people want to go very hard, and some are more of a soft touch. I think, at least for now, there's kind of a feeling, as during the Iran sanctions, kind of to let the administration kind of work its angle first, and just frankly see how things develop, because every day we get different reports of what's happening, and it's a very fluid situation.
So wait, I love it. Right, the Republicans in Congress are accusing President Obama of not doing anything, and they're going to wait 30 days before they do anything. Is that's what I hear you're saying?
Well, there are certainly some Republicans like McCain who would like to act now, but I think certainly Harry Reid is kind of following the White House lead and just going to hold off a little bit, because it's complicated when you have so many voices coming out of Washington. I think for now, at least, they're trying to have one sort of unified front. God forbid what John McCain might do if he were right. Oh, we think that all the time.
Yeah, what particular action that he might want. Has Harry Reid given up on the extension of unemployment benefits?
No. In fact, they're going to take another run at it very soon. I think they're really only one or two votes away. They only need one or two Republicans to flip. They've tried every which way to find a pay for that Republicans would find acceptable. What's really frustrating about this now is, you remember originally, at the beginning of the year, they said just give us a 3-month extension.
Right.
Well, now it's almost 3 months, or almost, we're 2+ months into it. So if you passed a 3-month extension now and made it retroactive, then in 3 weeks we'd be right back here again. So it looks like they're going to try at least a 6-month extension, make it retroactive to the beginning of the year, so the people who have lost money since January will get it all back. I don't want to prognosticate because it's just so close. It's one or two votes, and I've never been able to discern what the actual logic is for the Republicans who want to block it, because they've supported it so many times in the past. The pay-fors that Harry Reid are proposing, they've supported those in the past. So it's just hard to guess, because, it seems like they should support it, but they haven't so far, so I don't really know.
Yeah, I could help you out on that, George. Their logic is they just don't give a damn about working Americans. I think it's as simple as that. But the other thing to point out is that with the passage of time, too, not only have they, the clock has been running, but more and more people are now part of the long-term unemployed. I think we're up to over 2 million now, and it was a lot less than that at the beginning of the year. I don't know, George, just gets worse and worse, it seems. Lack of action there on the part of Congress. But appreciate your time this morning to bring us up to date, all your good work at The Nation, and we'll talk to you again next week. Thanks, George.
Okay, thanks for having me.
George Zornick from The Nation, thenation.com.
This is The Bill Press Show.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people like for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering, and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, Congressman Tim Bishop from New York coming up at the top of the next hour. I'll also be joined a little bit later by Congressman John Sarbanes from the state of Maryland. Peter, what's up?
Something to look out for today. Public Policy Polling, a research group.
PPP.
PPP, we know them well. Sent out a tweet last night. They've done a look at approval numbers for senators around the country.
Mm-hmm.
Here's just one thing they tweeted out, just a little nugget. Quoting their tweet, key finding on the second part of our Arizona poll out tomorrow, John McCain has the worst approval numbers of any senator in the United States.
Shocking.
What?
Yeah.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Come on. Come on. Yeah, feckless foreign policy. Get off my front yard. Come on, kid. Is that in Arizona or nationwide?
Nationwide. He's got
nationwide. Yeah. Well, maybe if we weren't on TV so much.
This is the Bill Press Show.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
In 1920s America, the Great Depression effectively erased consumer demand. Struggling manufacturers needed new ways to get people buying again. Innovative production processes like stamping and use of molds allowed them to use new materials for their designs. Products using vinyl, chrome, aluminium and plywood began appearing. American industrial designers began introducing streamlined, efficient shapes that shouted progress. Bel Geddes pioneered what we now refer to as utilitarian art. Things that had little reason to look sleek, now all of a sudden did. At the 1939 World Fair featuring Bel Geddes' immensely popular Futurama exhibit, a new era of American industrial design proudly claimed to be building the world of tomorrow. Americans found great positivity in these futuristic forms. Yay. Things were looking up. American industrial designers realised that by making objects look great, people simply wanted them more. From cars to kitchen appliances, the most influential society on earth was spending money again. Mass consumption had arrived. Advertisers finally had lots to talk about. Personal taste could be expressed through the things you bought. Style became equally as important as function. Chair designers like Eames and Saarinen didn't just design seating, they created desirable lifestyles. People behind the product suddenly were stars. Everyone wanted to know who they were. Raymond Loewy was one of the shining lights of American industrial design. His face ended up on every coffee table in the nation. Toothpaste packaging promised whiter teeth. Washing powder packaging promised whiter whites. Who knew such simple household objects would shape the tastes and ambitions of an entire society? American industrial design improved America, functionally, culturally and intellectually, and exported it around the globe.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
For more than 18 months, the members of AFSCME 3299 have been working to secure a new contract with the University of California. With workplace injuries at UC skyrocketing and government fines related to safety deficiencies at UC hospitals skyrocketing, Local 3299's top priority has been safe staffing at the workplace.
We've been short of people like for the last 5 years.
They're stretching us thin, which the students are suffering, the faculty suffering,
and the patients are suffering.
While UC administrators have granted these standards to other UC workers, they have refused to make similar accommodations for AFSCME represented workers who perform the most physically demanding labor at UC.
It takes a whole team to take care of the patient. It's not just the RN and it's not just the doctor. The nurses were able to win a great contract, and AFSCME workers, the patient care workers and service workers, they're part of the team and they deserve that same fair contract too.
We take pride into working for the university, and we feel like the university doesn't value the work that we do.
But the second-class treatment of AFSCME workers doesn't end at safety and staffing. On wages, benefits, and other issues, UC refuses to offer AFSCME 3299 members the same respect they afford their other workers.
I have 3 jobs because what the university pays me is just not enough to make a living for my family and myself.
99% of service workers in the UC system make so little money that they're eligible for at least some form of public assistance. At the same time, the number of executives in the UC system that have crossed over into making at least $250,000 a year has more than doubled since 2008.
The University of California has long been a beacon of hope and progress for those struggling for dignity and fairness. With such a proud history, it is disturbing to see the leadership of the university treat its lowest paid workers like second-class citizens.
All workers at the university deserve equal treatment.
And online, this is The Bill Press Show.
Harry Reid says the Koch brothers are immoral, dishonest, and un-American. Harry, for starters, you're absolutely right. Keep going. Good morning, everybody. What do you say? It is Thursday, March 6th. So good to see you today for the Bill Press Show as we boom out to you live all the way across this great land of ours, coast to coast, from our studio right here on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C., just down the street from the United States Capitol building. Good to see you this morning. We thank you for joining us, and don't forget, it's a two-way street here. You can join the show, join the conversation about the news of the day anytime by giving us a call at 866-55-PRESS, or send us your comments on Twitter at BP Show and on Facebook at facebook.com/Bill Press Show. Sitting here as we are in the 6 blocks from the Capitol, in the shadow of the Capitol Dome, we like to say, you never know. Every once in a while, a member of Congress stops by on the way to work, and we're happy this morning to welcome Congressman Timothy Bishop from New York's 1st Congressional District, part of Long Island, here in the studio with us. Congressman, it's good to see you.
Thank you for having me on, Bill.
Thanks for coming in and joining our team here, led by Peter Ogburn, Elisa Murphy.
Good morning.
Alicia Cruz there, standing by to take your calls again at 866-55-PRESS. And Cyprian Bolding, our videographer, he is here.
He is here. He is here. He's had a bit of a morning, but he is here.
He is, and we thank the Maryland State Police for releasing him on time in order to get here on time. So,
thank you, officers.
Thank Priorities you, officers. Are straight.
Yes, right. And thanks to Cyprian. We're coming at you live on television as well on Free Speech TV and on our video stream worldwide at youtube.com/TawkrTV. It's amazing. Congressman, we had 25 different countries represented yesterday tuning in around the globe.
Really? That's fantastic.
Hungary, Belarus, you name it.
Our people.
We're there.
That's fantastic.
Do you have any relatives still in the old country?
I don't think so.
Could be watching at this time. Well, I know you guys are dealing with the situation in Crimea and watching it, and the president has asked Congress for some aid over there. Meanwhile, Conan O'Brien last night on his show said a very unusual twist in what's happening with Vladimir Putin. Here's Conan.
While all this is going on, Vladimir Putin has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes! People were shocked until they found out that the head of the nominating committee was Kim Jong-un. No, it's true. Vladimir Putin has been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Unbelievable. Yeah. After hearing this, Putin said, "Tell me who the other nominees are, and I will eliminate them."
You know, he just looks. Doesn't he just look like KGB?
He looks a little sinister, doesn't he?
He really does. I don't know whether you saw that news conference he gave the other day. You're like,
I watched snippets of it.
but just the idea that he just slouched in his chair in front of these reporters. He wasn't standing at a podium like most leaders do, right? No. It's sort of like on his terms. But man, do you think he's going to pull out?
I do. I think ultimately, the pressure that will be brought to bear on him by the global community, I think will. And also, I think by the business community in Russia, will ultimately force him to recognize that this was a very bad move on his part.
I saw one story that the Russian economy had lost as much as they spent on the Olympics overnight because with the invasion of Crimea, $50 billion.
Stock market in one day, people lost $60 billion. Russian investors lost $60 billion of at least paper value just in the first day of the invasion. So I think that's why I say I think the business community of Russia is going to say, you really think this is such a good idea?
Right.
So,
yeah, I mean, what was all that goodwill that we built up in the Olympics all about? At any rate. So a good congressman here is with us for the first half hour, and then we'll be joined by Congressman John Sarbanes from Maryland, and reporters in the next hour from Huffington Post and a new site called Bills and Brews, which I'm excited to hear about. But first,
this is the Full Court Press.
The really big headlines.
Just a couple of other stories making news. Down goes Duke. Last night, the Blue Devils traveled to Wake Forest. Number 4 Duke Blue Devils basketball team went to Wake Forest, and they came up short. They lost to Wake Forest 82-72. Again, that's a huge upset for Wake Forest. In other news, Mike Krzyzewski, head coach of the Blue Devils, took a late timeout in the game, took a knee, and then said he was feeling dizzy and lightheaded. He had to sit down. He didn't do the post-game conference. He's going to be fine. They other than the big loss that they suffered last night.
Are we into March Madness yet?
Not yet.
No.
Not yet.
Almost.
We're getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, we're getting there. Bill, you'll appreciate this. Los Angeles is closer to banning e-cigarettes in restaurants.
Ooh.
The city council unanimously voted to approve a proposed ban on e-cigarettes in workplaces like restaurants, nightclubs, and bars, according to the LA Times. Mayor Eric Garcetti has said that he will sign that into law in the coming days. They will join New York, Boston, and Chicago, who have already taken steps to ban e-cigarettes.
Oh, I was just wondering about New York. You know what Bloomberg would have done. I don't know whether
in a heartbeat.
Exactly.
So de Blasio's kept the same. I guess if Bloomberg did, it's still in effect, right?
Yeah. Well, that's one of the policies de Blasio has kept. He hasn't kept others.
Hasn't kept them all, right.
And Thrillist asked bartenders around the country what their most overrated and their most underrated cocktails are.
Oh.
Anybody want to take a guess or offer your favorite cocktail?
Wait a minute, underrated or overrated?
Both. Name an overrated cocktail and an underrated cocktail.
The Cosmo?
Cosmo came up on overrated.
I would say the Cosmo is overrated.
Agreed.
Yeah, me too.
I think the martini is underrated because I don't see enough people drinking them.
Well, according to a lot of these, the consensus, if you look at what all of them said, most of them said that the Moscow Mule is overrated, which is just, I mean, a lot of bartenders don't like vodka. They think it doesn't taste like anything. They said that's overrated. And underrated, 2 drinks, the Negroni and the gin and tonic. And the reason they say that the gin and tonic
Just the gin and tonic?
Well, here's their theory behind the gin and tonic is they say that it's not so much underrated as it is unappreciated because it takes real skill to just take essentially 2 ingredients and not screw it up. You have to have the perfect balance, the right
mix,
kind,
huh?
the perfect mix,
and the good, and
real
good gin.
And good gin, and good quality tonic, and you'll be okay.
We could better appreciate this story if we had some samples here. You know, that we could.
It's a little early for samples, don't you think?
Not on this show.
You haven't hung out with Bill very much, have you, Congressman?
Usually we wait till Friday. Before we
All right.
Okay. This is only Thursday. Yeah. Now I know we wanted to talk, and this has been a big issue for you, Congressman. Minimum wage. What is the logic? Or what's the political value behind this, the House Republican opposition to raising the minimum wage?
Well, I think what they're doing two things. They're taking the substantive position that a minimum wage will hurt the economy and will cost jobs, and there's very little empirical evidence that would allow them to come to that conclusion. But that's their position, and I also think that it's that this is part of an ongoing position of theirs, that the plight of those who struggle, even the plight of the middle class, is really not among their priorities. I mean, they are focused on a slice of our society that really has very little to worry about, but they seem to think that they're imperiled, and that the focus of their policies needs to be supporting them. And so how we can say that we can't give a minimum wage increase, and yet at the same time, and also how they wanted to cut $40 billion out of food stamps.
Yeah.
They want to block grant Medicaid. They want to cut the women's, infants, and children's nutrition program. I mean, you name it, they want to cut it. Yet at the same time, they protect the corporate welfare that we provide to the oil companies and the tax breaks that we provide to gazillionaire hedge fund managers. So it's just their worldview is a worldview that doesn't include concern for those who are struggling.
Is there something else included in that? In that, the last time we raised the minimum wage to $7.25, where it's stuck today, was under George W. Bush. Yep. Republicans voted for it under George W.
Yep.
Bush. So Barack Obama asked for it, and because it's Barack Obama?
I think that's a part of it. I mean, in 2007, 82 Republicans in the House of Representatives voted for the minimum wage. Right now, I've filed this discharge petition, as you know,
right,
to try to move that the current bill to the floor. It's got 191 signatures. Not a one of them is a Republican. And the minimum wage in the Senate in 2007 passed by a margin of, I think, 94-3. So historically, this is an issue that's had pretty strong bipartisan support. And right now, it has become a partisan issue, with Democrats supporting it and Republicans refusing to support it. But the American people pretty overwhelmingly support it. The most polling shows approval for an increase in the minimum wage in the high 60s to the low 70s.
So a discharge, if I have my math correct, you need, what is it, 218 votes?
Yes, half of the House plus one.
218, right, half the House plus one. Okay. For a discharge position, meaning the way that works, just so all of our viewers and listeners understand, right? The discharge position, as I understand it, if the Speaker will not schedule something for a vote on the floor, if you have enough signatures on a discharge position, you can force a vote.
Yes,
correct?
A discharge petition allows it is one of the few tools the minority has to influence the floor schedule. I mean, under normal circumstances, the Speaker and the Majority Leader control the floor schedule, but if you get 218 signatures on a discharge petition, that means that piece of legislation underlying the discharge petition moves to the floor for consideration. It is not often used, and even less often is it successful. The last time it was successful was campaign finance reform in 2002. That came to the floor of the House through a discharge petition, and in interesting sort of historical
was Hastert Speaker then, I guess?
2002, Hastert was Speaker. Yes,
yeah. Okay.
Yes. An interesting historical footnote. The Fair Labor Standards Act, 1936 or 1937, is what created the minimum wage. That came to the floor of the House by virtue of a discharge petition.
So you need 218 for a discharge, and you are now at
191.
Whoa. You're within striking distance.
We got a ways, but the key is...
Now, how many Democrats are there?
There's 199 Democrats. So we have to pick up the remaining 8 Democrats, and then we need 19 Republicans to join us.
Do you have any Republicans so far?
No, so far, no.
Have any of them indicated that... that this little game that they play, that if you get close, I'll be the last one, or if you get, whatever.
Not yet. We're reaching out to Republicans in general. As I say, there were 82 Republicans that voted for the minimum wage in 2007. I think something like 35 or 40 of them are still in the House. So we're certainly we're reaching out to them, and we're also certainly going to try to make sure that we get the 8 Dems that aren't yet on.
Okay, so we're here in 2014, midterm elections. Every single member of the House is up for re-election. So Republicans are saying we're going to go out there and defend not raising the minimum wage. And I would assume, Congressman, that some of the people who of these Americans who would like to see the minimum wage raised happen to be in red states, right? Or in their districts. I mean, how can they possibly defend this?
Well, I think a couple of things. I think, I think their worldview is that this hurts small businesses as I say,
you and I both know that's not true.
No evidence, but that's
right.
So I think they take that position. I also think the districts, for so many of our Republican colleagues, the districts are drawn in such a way that they can take very extreme positions and still prevail in a general election. In fact, most of our Republican colleagues are more worried about a primary from the right than they are about a general election and losing votes on the left. And I also think their mindset for the 2014 election is it's going to be all Obamacare all the time. I mean, they're going to. I mean, look. Yesterday we voted for the 50th time in the House of Representatives to defund or eliminate all or part.
I didn't realize that. Another vote?
Yes.
God. Yeah, like 50 times.
Yesterday was the 50th, yes.
Can you believe it? Yeah, I think, I'm stunned that I didn't know about that, but I think it's gotten to the point that people aren't even reporting it anymore.
Well, it's old news.
Right?
I mean, it's old news. I mean, and it's I mean, how often do you report the exact same story?
Right. Yeah. The definition of insanity.
Yeah.
Right. But, I have to say, I worked years ago for Governor Jerry Brown in California in his first term. And that's the first time that I dealt, how long ago that was. And it's the first time I dealt with this argument from the business community. You can't raise the minimum wage because you're going to lose jobs. And I remember looking into it then, and there was no evidence. And now this is like 30 years later, and there's still no evidence that has ever happened.
It's one of the most heavily studied areas that economists look at, and there just isn't a body of evidence that says that if you raise the minimum wage, you're gonna lose jobs. It just isn't there. And I mean, if you look at the state of Washington, which has one of the highest minimum wages in the country, it simply hasn't happened. And one of the interesting things is economists have studied states that join one another, where one state has a higher minimum wage than the other, and they've even studied the counties that line up against one another. And there's no loss of jobs in the counties that have a higher minimum wage. There's no migration of businesses from one county to another. So it's just not there. But what is there is if you raise the minimum wage, you're putting more money in the hands of people who live paycheck to paycheck, and it just stands to reason that they're going to spend it. And when we have an economy that is 70% rooted in consumer spending, if we're going to put more hands on the money of people who are likely to spend it, that's going to lift the economy.
Absolutely, yeah. And so we're talking about what the Congress can do. President Obama's been talking also about what businesses can do and what governors can do. We talked about it yesterday, and we'll get into that with Congressman Tim Bishop here from New York State, Long Island. When we come back, don't forget you're welcome to join the conversation anytime at 866-55-PRESS.
This is the Bill Press Show.
A single ember that escapes from a wildfire can travel more than a mile. That single ember can ignite and destroy your home or even your community. You can't control where the ember will land, only what happens when it does. Get Fire Adapted now at fireadapted.org.
Columbine, Virginia Tech,
Tucson,
Aurora,
Fort Hood, Oak Creek, Newtown,
Newtown,
Newtown.
Newtown.
How many more? How many more? How many more colleges? How many more classrooms?
How many more movie theaters?
How many more houses of faith?
How many more shopping malls?
How many more street corners?
How many more?
How many more?
Enough. 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 Enough.
Demand a plan.
Right now. As a mom.
As a dad. As a friend. As a husband.
As a wife.
As an American.
As an American.
As an American.
As a human being.
For the children of Sandy Hook.
Demand a plan. No more lists of names. It's not too soon.
It's too late.
Now is the time.
Before we all know someone who loved someone on that list.
No more lists.
No more.
Who they might have been. No more.
If we had just done something yesterday.
It's time.
We can do better than this.
We can do better than this.
It's time.
It's time.
It's time for our leaders to act.
Demand a plan. Right now.
Right now.
You! Demand it!
Enough.
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 None of us would want to be told we can't marry the person we love. As Americans, we believe in freedom. That's what I fought for as a Marine, and that's what we believe in as Republicans. Freedom means freedom for everyone. I didn't used to understand the importance of same-sex marriage, but after learning my brother was gay, I wanted the same rights for him. He was the best man at my wedding, and I want to be the best man at his. It's only fair that Calvin should have the freedom to marry the person he loves, too.
It's time for marriage.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go with Congressman Tim Bishop from Long Island in studio with us talking minimum wage. Congressman, the president yesterday up in Hartford, Connecticut, meeting with 4 governors up there, applauding governors for what they're doing and also calling on businesses, saying you don't have to wait for Congress, right? Now, I know you want Congress to act, so do we. But businesses can act on their own. And do you see any sign of that?
There's been some. I mean, Costco has I think, taken a very progressive position on wages for their workers. The Gap just announced an increase in wages. And, 21 states have a minimum wage higher than the federal minimum wage. So some of the states are taking the lead. New York raised theirs at the end of December of 13, 3 increases. That'll get it up over $9 an hour. So some states are doing it, and with good results, and some businesses are doing it with good results. And when you listen to the president of Costco, he says, look, this is the good thing. A, motivates employees, keeps the employees there, so they save on the costs associated with recruitment of new employees and training and so on. And that longevity, has a value. So that's an enlightened business owner who views it as an investment in his workforce.
Congressman, good luck with this discharge position. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you very much for having me on.
This is the Bill Press Show.
This is my computer.
This is your computer. Let's go on the internet.
Let's go. Click it.
Yes.
Okay.
I cursor in between the R and the E. Pressing dot, I want you to just push the period.
She's gonna love me all over again.
Jamaica, here you go.
Here we go.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. And I did it by myself. Feel smarter.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
All right. I know this isn't any fun to talk about, but we should. Okay. So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice.
And I'll try to get the generator going without any gas.
Oh, let's not forget the cell phones, which probably won't work.
Right.
And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
Well, I think we couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Hey, thanks for stopping by. You know, I followed your character since the first episode. I'm a big fan. Big fan.
Thank you.
And listen, your storyline, it makes for incredible TV drama. Thing is, your drug use is very adult content. Too adult for the kids. So I'm gonna have to block you.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, have a good one.
You're a nice lady.
Seen on Free Speech TV and online on TawkrTV. This is the Bill Press Show.
Here we go. It's 33 minutes after the hour. Good to see you today here on the Bill Press Show, coming to you live from our studio on Capitol Hill in Washington, D.C. And we are brought to you today by AFSCME. You know, the good men and women of AFSCME, the largest public employee and healthcare workers union in the entire country, under President Lee Saunders. And if you want to find out, just go to the website to find out more about all the good work they're doing across the country at afscme.org, AFSCME.org. Can't tell you how often when we get into, no matter what the issue is, and talk about what we can do about it, that we inevitably get a call from one of our listeners or one of our viewers saying, well, you know, we're never going to fix this problem unless we do something about campaign finance reform and campaign contributions. It is the number one problem underlying everything else that we care about in this country. And nobody knows that better, and nobody's doing more about it than Congressman John Sarbanes from the state of Maryland, joining us in studio again this morning. Congressman, welcome back.
Bill, thanks very much. Good
to see you. It looked like you're surviving Congress. I don't know.
Well, I'm trying. It's a tough place to be. You know, the public's pretty angry with Washington and Congress. They have a right to be. I think, as you said, a lot of it has to do with this feeling that the big money crowd kind of runs everything in Washington, and the voices of everyday citizens are being left behind. So the question is, what do we do to address that cynicism out there?
I have to ask you, when we get into exactly what you're doing about it, but how does it feel to be sitting there in the Congress yesterday and being part of the vote, number 50 vote to repeal Obamacare? I mean, what are they thinking?
Well, you know, the definition of insanity, right, is trying the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. And there's just this, you have this group that refuses to accept that this is the law of the land. We're to the implementation stage. Obviously, there's been some bumps in that, but, you know, millions of people are starting to benefit from this health care reform, and we got to keep moving forward with it. So it's very frustrating to have the Republicans continue to bring these repeal things up, but we'll prevail.
You have tackled, back on what we wanted to talk about particularly here, you have tackled this campaign finance room head on with your Government by the People Act. I mean, there's an original phrase, but
well,
it's good to get back to it.
Abe Lincoln's a pretty good guy to take cues from,
right.
And so we thought we would do that. The Government by the People Act, which we introduced a month ago, is really designed to put everyday citizens back in the center of things and to give their voice some kind of say, because they believe, and they're right, you know, the Americans are smart about this stuff. They've figured out that big money is kind of running things in Washington, and a lot of that's because they are the ones pouring money into campaigns. So it's no surprise that when it comes time to vote on public policy, the Congress tends to lean in the direction of big money and special interest,
absolutely,
and away from what everyday people want to see.
Right, right. So how do you change that? I mean,
what we've done is we've created a system that first would encourage everyday folks to get into the sort of business of funding campaigns by offering what we call the My Voice tax credit. It's a refundable $25 tax credit for contributions to congressional campaigns. That'll make it easier for everyday people to say, you know what, I'll step up and I'll make a small donation and start becoming part of the solution so that my voice powers campaigns instead of the voices of big money and special interest. The second thing we do is we establish under the bill something we call the Freedom from Influence Matching Fund. So what this is it's a matching fund that comes in behind those small donations, boosts them up, and means that candidates and members of Congress will start paying more attention to the small donor because that can generate some real dollars.
Dollar for dollar match, you mean?
It's actually a multiple match. So you make a small donation of $10, that can turn into a $70 contribution for that candidate with a 6-to-1 match. So now the candidate has some real incentive to have that house party and come collect your $15, $20, $50 contribution instead of going to some fancy affair on K Street and collecting dollars that way.
Well, who's paying? Who pays for that?
So that would be a public fund. And people say, well, yeah, exactly. How are you going to pay for this? Well, one way you can pay for it, I think, is look at the industries who have benefited from these loopholes for years because they wield so much influence in Washington. The oil and gas industry, which is getting $5 billion a year in taxpayer subsidies, even though they are getting billions of dollars of profits every year. They don't need taxpayer money. Close that loophole, take some of those funds and underwrite a system that can match small donors. Or maybe we go to Wall Street, which is benefiting from huge tax loopholes. And why? Because over decades, they've been pouring money into campaigns, buying influence on Capitol Hill to preserve those loopholes. So you shut down some of the loopholes from the very industries that wield that influence in Washington. Take those dollars, you can underwrite a system of matching small donors for decades.
So this is, for a long time, that I've been involved in politics, it was public campaign financing, just getting all the money out and public. This is sort of a modified version of it, right? And
it's a hybrid. It's a hybrid. What it says is, okay, we're going to come behind the small donor. We're going to boost their voice, because right now, if you're a $10, $15 donor, you say, my voice doesn't matter. How does it compete against super PACs and PACs and so forth? And you're right. But if you have a matching system, then that small donor comes along and says, hey, my $10 is actually worth $60 or $70. Before you know it, you start assembling that, and that's real money to help a candidate.
Has anybody tried this in the real world?
Actually, at the state level, there are experiments like this, systems in place. New York City has a system. Connecticut has sort of a variation on it. Maine has a public financing system. And what you find is when these are in place, not only do you empower everyday citizens, which helps address that cynicism and anger they're feeling, so they don't feel left out anymore, but you get different kinds of candidates who can run for office and win.
Right.
I mean, I was with a legislator from Maine who said, but for the public funding system up in Maine, she would not be in the state legislature. She's a cashier. She knows tons of people, but not people with a lot of money.
Yeah.
But you put a public funding system in place, she can be competitive. We would get different people running for Congress, Bill, if we had this kind of a system in place. Half the people in Congress right now are millionaires. Why is that? Because it takes millions of dollars to run for office. You create a system that gives everyday citizens a voice, they'll start putting forward candidates who can be competitive, who really represent their interests.
But isn't there a real big brick wall like in front of you? And his name is John Roberts, and he's probably got another 30 years on the Supreme Court. And as long as he is there, you know damn well that if this bill becomes law, he'll overturn it.
He won't overturn it. We vetted this. It passes constitutional muster because it's a voluntary system. So candidates choose to participate. And if it's a voluntary system and not a mandated system, the court is not going to overturn it. We actually have a third piece which would help candidates that face an onslaught of super PAC money or outside money in the final days of a campaign, where they could get some additional resources to help fight back, keep their voice in the game. And we even design that so that it will pass constitutional muster under this court. So we're not worried about a challenge from the court. What we want to do is create a system that candidates will choose to participate in, and we think we've done that.
Now, what do you find from your colleagues in the House right now? Do they feel threatened by this? I mean, because, I mean, the game is, and I was former Democratic chair of California. I was right in the middle of it. You don't like the system the way it is now, but if you want to win, you sort of got to play by the rules of the game. So a lot of your members spend a lot of their time dialing for dollars every day.
A tremendous amount of time.
Now, so what are they?
I think people are attracted to this. We introduced this with 128 original co-sponsors.
Really?
So on the day of introduction, we had a broad group that was supporting this. I think because they're talking to their constituents. And look, they know how disgusted people are with Washington and Congress. And a lot of that has to do with this feeling that your voice can't be heard and that big money is running everything. So we offer a solution for that, and I think they know that's going to be compelling to their constituents, and that's why they're getting behind this bill. And frankly, they're looking for a different system. Members of Congress don't like having to go to the PACs and the big money to run these campaigns, but right now, there's no alternative to that. Create a system that's powered by everyday citizens, and you'll see candidates and members of Congress turn back in that direction.
So if this passes, then it's up to each
member decides, do they want to participate? And
Right.
we've made it attractive enough that a candidate would look at this and say, I can run a viable campaign and be competitive by choosing a system that puts everyday citizens back in the middle and begins to turn away from the big money and the special interests. That's the kind of system we need.
One member of Congress who's got enough guts to stand up and take on the big money in politics, Congressman John Sarbanes from Maryland, here in the studio with us. On an issue I know you all care about, give us a call at 866-55-PRESS. We'll be right back here on this Thursday edition of the Bill Press Show.
This is the Bill Press Show.
$10,000, you'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
When some people struggle with their mortgage payments, they become frozen, petrified. Not knowing what to do, they do nothing. But the people who take action are far more likely to get the most positive outcome. Making home affordable is a free government program. Call now to talk one-on-one with a housing expert about the options that are right for you. Real help, real answers, right now.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
On your radio, on TV, and online. This is The Bill Press Show.
13 minutes before the top of the hour, Luke Johnson from Huffington Post coming in at the top of the next hour. Right now we're visiting with Congressman John Sarbanes from Maryland, who is out in the lead with a bill called Government by the People Act on the important issue of campaign finance reform. Congressman, Harry Reid's been talking about two players that you just mentioned. The Koch brothers. He went to the floor of the Senate yesterday to tell people what he thinks about the Koch brothers. Here's Majority Leader Reid.
You see, when you make billions of dollars a year, you can be, I guess, as immoral and dishonest as your money will allow you to be. It's too bad that they're trying to buy America, and it's time that the American people spoke out against this terrible dishonesty of two brothers who are about as un-American as anyone that I can imagine.
Pretty strong language, but buying America is not an exaggeration, is it?
That's what they're trying to do, and with every passing day, they get more traction on that agenda. So the American people have to take their government back. They have to. I mean, look at it this way: somebody's going to own the government, right? Either it's going to be big money and special interests, in which case, when it comes time to make policy, that's the direction we'll lean in on public policy, or it's going to be the American people. You create a system that matches small donations with matching dollars that come in behind that. And everyday citizens, real Americans, can own their government again and get results.
Now, you're trying to get this bill through Congress, and of course, you've got John Boehner and Eric Cantor against you. They probably won't even schedule it for a vote. Meantime, Is there any way people around the country, all of our people coast to coast, can get involved in
Absolutely. We're not waiting. There's a national coalition, more than 40 national organizations, including civil rights groups like NAACP, environmental groups like the Sierra Club, labor. We have SEIU and UAW, and CWA has been a real lead on this effort. They're pushing out petitions online. We already have 400,000 citizen co-sponsors. I've got a platform, the Government by the People, peopleact.com. You can go there. Public Campaign has a site, www.ofby.us, ofby.us. So you can go there and sign a petition. Just put in Government by the People Act, Google it, and you'll land on one of these petition platforms. Sign that, add your voice to the almost 500,000 people who've already said we need this kind of reform. I think this can be a movement, Bill. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's not going to cure the whole problem. But it's a very important first step for people to say, doggone it, we're sick of somebody else owning our government. We want our democracy back.
And they could also get some things going, I would imagine, at the state level too, right?
No question. There are efforts in a number of states across the country, and there are examples like New York City has a system like this that matches small donations. But people should also go to their members of Congress and say, we want you to get behind this bill. We already have over 135 co-sponsors. We'd love to add to that to keep the momentum going. The point is that when the window of opportunity presents itself, and that's not tomorrow, and it's probably not next week, but when it comes, we want to be ready to take advantage of it. And by building this citizen support across the country for real reform, I think we'll be able to do that.
Let's say hello to Ryan, calling from Chicago on the great WCPT. Hello, Ryan. Good morning.
Good morning. Your two guests today give me faith that Congress can be turned around a little bit. So thank you for having both of them on.
Well, thank you. Tim Bishop from New York and John Sarbanes from Maryland. Right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Ryan.
I think this is a great idea, and I think that people will definitely get behind it. In my opinion, it's the biggest problem, and I've seen it for years. But when Citizens United went down, I was like totally deflated because it just was like this could be the beginning of the end if people just don't get involved and do something about this. But I wanted to ask the congressman, and I know that you probably
come on, Ryan, get to the question.
Why is it? How are you guys going to get anything done in 94 days? In session this year.
Okay, all right. That's good. Thanks, Ryan. Good to hear from you. Are you going to get anything done in 94 days this year?
You mean the balance of this election cycle? No, we're not going to get anything done. The Republicans don't have any interest in getting anything done. It's all about politics for them now. We're in an election year. They're putting together their talking points. That's all they really care about.
All around Obamacare.
And that's why it's important this fall for Democrats who don't like the current situation in Washington, or let me change that, any American citizen, whether they're a Democrat or Republican or independent, who's fed up with the gridlock and the dysfunction and rightly puts the blame for a lot of that on the House leadership, ought to go to the polls and try to change the composition of the Congress so we can begin to get some things done. But on this money issue, I want to make the point that whoever's in charge, until we get the influence of big money out of the system, we're only going to make but so much progress. And that's why it's important for us to build a system that puts everyday citizens back in the middle. And when we designed this legislation, the Government by the People Act, it had to meet two standards. One, it had to be viable so candidates would participate. But most importantly, everyday folks needed to look at this thing, kick the tires on it, and say, you know what, this isn't just a gimmick. This isn't just cosmetic. They built this for us. This puts us back in charge. That's what we wanted to do. That's what I think we have done.
Right. And, again, whether you care about education or the environment or whatever your issue is, this is where you got to start. You got to fix this first.
Absolutely. All the substantive agendas start with fixing this process of how we fund our campaigns.
Congressman John Sarbanes, thanks for coming in. It's Government by the People Act, right?
Absolutely.
Just Google it and get on board and give the Congressman your support, and maybe we can get it done. Thanks, Congressman.
Thanks
Great
very much,
to see
Bill.
you. I'll be back to tell you what the President's up to today.
This is the Bill Press Show.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Hey friends, do you realize that heart disease kills more Americans every year than all forms of cancer combined? So when you donate to the American Heart Association, you're contributing to life-saving research with every dollar. You can make your donation today through the Pop Money personal payment service. All you do is download the app or go online to popmoney.com. Sign up to send your donation to jessica.gramillion@heart.org. jessica.gramillion@heart.org. Here's the best part. The 95-cent fee is assessed to you, the sender, regardless of how much money you contribute. That means that 100% of your donation goes to support the ongoing research to help save lives across America. No fees are paid by the American Heart Association, getting more bang for your buck. And of course, terms and conditions apply.
At Earth Justice, we defend the environment in the courtroom. Join our fight. When you take a seat, you take a stand. Earth Justice, because the Earth needs a good lawyer.
You wouldn't let money just blow out of your house. So when your AC or heater is on, make sure the doors, windows, and fireplace flue are shut tight. If you're headed out, turn down the AC or lower the heat by 10 degrees. And always keep your water heater set at 120. A little bit of common sense goes a long way. Get more great tips at energysaver.gov.
This is the Bill Press Show.
All right, in the next hour, Luke Johnson, political reporter for Huffington Post, will be here with us, as well as Matt Lazio, who is the host of Bills and Brews, billsandbrews.com. Well, Bill's here. Is he bringing the brews? I mean, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, look, Thursdays we don't usually drink. We could maybe do that this time.
All right. The president today has a big town hall at the museum. It's a town hall capitalizing on or telling how Latinos can capitalize and take advantage of the Affordable Care Act. And then this morning, the president and the first lady host the in performance at the White House, Women of Soul. Melissa Etheridge, Aretha Franklin, Patti LaBelle. Oh my God, great lineup tonight at the White House. We have our press briefing today at 12:45.
This is the Bill Press Show.